We all know about Pascal Siakam on the court. I mean, he's an MIP, a G League Finals MVP, an NBA champion. Need I go on? But we don't really know a lot about Pascal Siakam off the court. So, in today's video, we're going to go over what the NBA does not know about Pascal Siakam. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. This is your Monday episode. We're talking about Pascal Siakam yet again. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talk about the Raptors and videos and content just like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. On a road to 7,000 subscribers, really mean a lot if you helped us on the road to that next checkpoint in our YouTube journey. Also, just to mention, guys, it's probably the last time that we are going to be in this setup, so expect some changes for Wednesday. But let's get down to business for today's video, talking about Pascal Siakam, who has been very active in media in the last couple of weeks. Raptors are a typically tight-lipped organization, so when we get any sort of story out of some players, it's usually pretty exciting. And it's also, a case that the Raptors aren't the most popular team in the world, so to get any sort of feature in NBA media isn't always the easiest for Raptors fans. But Pascal Siakam was in the media talking on a podcast. He was talking in articles. There's many articles written about him, and he's been very vocal about his previous season. But it wasn't necessarily about the season that we saw on the court, because Pascal Siakam on the court, I think it's safe to say that Pascal Siakam didn't quite meet the expectations that we set for him. It wasn't necessarily a bad season, but it wasn't quite up to the expectations that we set with him, and a lot of people are kind of blowing that season out of proportions. But what the articles and what the podcast were all about was the other side of the ball, the off-court activities, how Pascal Siakam as a person dealt with that entire season. Because oftentimes as athletes, we hold them to such a high standard that, all we really see them as our idols to some people, all we really see them as is the athlete and what they do on the court and the heroism they showcase on the court. But we sometimes forget about the person behind the athlete. We just kind of get washed up in all of the success or maybe failures on the court. And one of the biggest things to me on the court is the psychology behind sport, where it comes to maybe your confidence and other things behind the game. And Pascal Siakam was evidently lacking that last season. Pascal Siakam, people attribute this to be like a horrible season for Pascal Siakam. He came off of a season where he started an All-Star game and was an All-NBA second-team featurer. But, last season, this wasn't necessarily a bad season. 21.4 points per game, 7.2 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists, which is a career high. The rebounds were a very slight regression. The points per game was like a little regression. 45.5% from the field, that's just about the same as the previous season, and the free throw percentage is good as well. The only thing that really dropped was the three-point percentage. Sure, that went from 36 to just about 29%, but that was really all that changed. His field goal percentage, if his field goal percentage stayed the same for back-to-back seasons, despite the fact that his three-point percentage dropped, well, that just showcases how much better Pascal Siakam is at getting to the rim and finishing. People claim that Pascal Siakam's spin move was getting found out by defenders, and he's being forced to add in other parts of his game. Well, evidently it's working, because if his field goal percentage stayed the same despite a significant drop in three-point percentage as well as three-point attempts going up, he is getting so much better at attacking the rim, and I would argue is not being found out by defenders. But this is sort of the trajectory every NBA player goes through. They come into the league, and as they rise up to stardom, they have the one thing that they rely on. But as other defenses start to target that player, as the player becomes the best player on the team, they fixate their defense schematics on that specific player, then the player is forced to adapt. It's just the nature of sports. You have to adapt your game. And the best players adapt their game. They continue to adapt their game before they have all these assets about their game to hurt the opponent. But Pascal Siakam, starting basketball very late, he's still kind of blooming. He's still finding out things about himself as a basketball player. So he's getting all these things down. But regardless, that's not what this video is about. I just like to vent about Pascal Siakam. I'm gonna defend Pascal Siakam to my goddamn grave. Regardless, we're not talking about on the court. All the on-court stuff to me is great, but off the court, psychologically, Pascal Siakam is hurting. And it came off the back of that bubble performance where he was, I'm going to admit, absolutely horrendous against the Boston Celtics in that playoff series. Had we had our man Pascal playing properly in that series, we would have won that series in 6 games. We almost won in 7 without Pascal Siakam really contributing anything but for, I think it was the Game 5 performance. So other than that, we would have won it. But the reality is we didn't win it. And Pascal Siakam was hurting because of it, because ultimately, you can't place it on one player, but if you could, you would probably place it on Pascal Siakam. And he's not like the most active guy on social media, but he sees the things. He hears the things. Other players, his friends, his family, they let him know what's being said on social media. What was said on social media? There weren't very many kind things to say about Pascal Siakam after that playoff series. And that maintained throughout the entire summer. It's like we forgot this guy even made the All-NBA second team, or even started the All-Star game. Sure, he let us down a little bit in the playoffs, but one playoff performance, I was willing to forgive that, but not many people were in the same head state, and it was a brutal summer for the player, and he came into the next season where he wasn't able to play in Toronto anymore. He was in a different setting, and after, starting out the season, the Raptors were 2-8. Pascal Siakam himself was kind of struggling. I was calling him out to elevate his game. I was calling him out to be better because, it's easy to support a guy, but you also, while supporting a player, can hold somebody accountable to the way they're performing on the court. And the confidence wasn't there. And Pascal Siakam, in all these articles, in these podcasts, he really told the untold truth that we didn't really know about him. Like, sure, there was a psychological aspect of, maybe fans turning on him, other NBA fans just clowning him, but there was also a bit of a divide within the team that maybe we didn't know about. Kyle Lowry was the man for the team. I mean, Kyle Lowry is the greatest Raptor of all time. That is the face of the franchise. But Pascal Siakam felt like, well, I'm the guy on the max contract. I'm the best player on this team. I should be the guy. I should be the one who is the face of the franchise. I should be that guy. He kept attributing to being that guy. He was never that guy, though. It was always Kyle Lowry being that guy. But when Pascal Siakam put pen to paper on a max contract, he himself felt like he was the guy. But communication internally within the organization was a little bit off there because the Raptors front office, Raptors coaching staff, never really made it clear who the guy was. And the guy basically means, this is the guy that you can rely on. This is the guy that you can stick the ball to in the big moments. This is the guy that you're going to run your offense through. But Pascal Siakam never really felt like it was that case for him. And he always felt it was for Kyle Lowry. So there's a little bit of a divide. I mean, Kyle Lowry cast a humongous shadow over the Raptors organization because of the monumental impact that he has put on the city of Toronto. So there's all these struggles that Pascal Siakam was dealing with. I think people blow the riffs with Nick Nurse out of proportion. There was an early one in the season where he got benched against the New York Knicks for walking out of the game early after being taken out, and then the Raptors are getting blown out. And then there was later in the season where in the fourth quarter against the Cavaliers, the Raptors, who were clearly tanking at this point, took Pascal Siakam out of the fourth quarter. Two little bust-ups. I mean, I think disagreement with your coaches happen, but Pascal Siakam, it's very easy to kind of put a microscope on him and find anything negative to talk about because that does well in the media. So I can understand why those were blown out of proportions, but I think it was just that. And Pascal Siakam claims that any sort of rift between Nick Nurse was buried long ago. So to look at everything that Pascal Siakam as a player endured, he had to deal with playing in Tampa for the entire season. And by the way, Pascal Siakam's numbers, his splits home and away, he typically performs much better at home as well. So to have to play no games at home, that was difficult. To come off the bubble season where he was getting absolutely ridiculed and roasted online, that was difficult. Dealing with, being the max contract player but not being the first significant player on the team, that was difficult for Pascal Siakam. So I can, excuse maybe a season here. Regardless, I don't even think he was that bad. He just needs to work on either getting that three-point percentage up or maybe taking it a little bit out of his game because he is adding in so many different things on the interior to make himself a better player. But there is this kind of untold truth that we have about Pascal Siakam as a person rather than a player. The athlete, as good as they can be, they still need to be thriving as an individual and as a person off the court in order to bring their best on the court. So in times like this, we need to give our support to Spicy P, our man, because we want to have success with this team. We have a core group of players here in Siakam, OG, and Fred VanVleet who were NBA champions not very long ago now. And we're not really close to that at the moment, but we are getting back there with the youth that we have in place. So Pascal Siakam needs to be made clear that he is the man. He is the guy for the next few years, especially this season. One little knock on the front office, I don't have many, is communication with their players. This isn't the first time there's been a little bit of a problem player-wise because of some miscommunication. Like when the Raptors traded away DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry basically went AWOL for like a couple of weeks. It wouldn't speak to anybody within the organization because he was upset that's his best friend getting traded away and Masai didn't make it clear what was going on in that situation. So front office needs to do a better job, and we as fans need to do a better job of really making sure the players feel right. And if they feel right, they are going to bring their absolute best on the court. I think Pascal Siakam, based on the fact that he is going to be working extremely hard to get back to that all-NBA second-team level of performer, that all-star level of performances, because last season, again, it wasn't even that bad. It was pretty good, actually. And by Pascal Siakam standards, I mean, if we're saying that's a bad season, 21-7-4, where his defense is improving and his interior game is improving, if we're saying that's a bad season, oh my goodness, wait till we see a Pascal Siakam in a good season by NBA media standards, because that interior game is already really good, even though people don't think it is. I mean, the spin move, sure, is that getting found out? I mean, not really. People say it is, but actually isn't. And he's adding in so many other assets to his game. If Pascal Siakam, even without a three-point shot, can produce that, then he is going to be a scary player in the NBA. But let's say he does add that three-point percentage, and I think he's going to be working extremely hard to do that. Can he take a little bit less off the dribble? Yes, I think so. I think the shot selection, the shot IQ can improve from three, and maybe just stick to a little bit more of the corner, the catch and shoot stuff as well. Stick to that a little bit more. Pascal Siakam is going to be back to his best, and when Pascal Siakam is showcasing stuff on the court, as his confidence grows off the court, then I mean, it's just going to help. It's just reciprocating. You know, if he feels good off the court, he's be feeling good on the court, producing good results. We're just going to make him feel even better off the court. Now that Kyle Lowry is gone, it's absolutely Pascal Siakam's team. Sure, I mentioned Scotty Barnes is coming in. He's going to be that face of the franchise. He's the guy that we're going to rally around. But with all those good vibes going around the organization, there is a recognition amongst everybody that Pascal Siakam is the best player on this team. Even in the community on YouTube, you guys think Pascal Siakam is the best player on this team. So as much as I can predict, as much as I can say, okay, let's kind of excuse the past, let's move on with the future, he has got to show it this season, and time will tell what sort of Pascal Siakam we can get. But I doubt we see what we saw last season. I doubt we see that level. We're definitely going up a tick here, and I'm just excited to see what that looks like for Pascal Siakam in 2021-2022. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Pascal Siakam situation in the comments down below, because that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, be sure to give a like on the video. If you did enjoy, it really goes a long way to helping us reach some new viewers for the channel with that YouTube algorithm. Showcase it to more people who may want to enjoy the videos, and also subscribe to the channel on a road to 7,000 subscribers at Magic Kyle Lowry number 7,000 subscribers. It would be great to hit that checkpoint as soon as possible. Let's try to hit 10K by the end of 2021. You can also check out the other channels that we have, Amateur Clips, the best highlights from our Twitch streams, or just go to twitch.tv/amateursports with the link in the description to watch them live. The Amateur TV channel, where we have vlogs and Raptors fan interviews coming out consistently. Great content there. At the end of the day, believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.